We're here now with John Phillips. And John, what can you tell us about the terms of this settlement?
As far as terms go, there's not much we can disclose at this time, but there are two things at play here: a criminal lawsuit or criminal filings by the state, and the civil lawsuit. And the civil was for wrongful death and the defamation that happened of Jordan and the other boys. And we made a proposal. We made a proposal before filing a lawsuit. We remade that proposal in November, and they accepted it early December.
And tell us why you don't want to discuss the terms of the settlement.
We're still working out some of the details. Obviously, the predominant interest here is the criminal trial, which begins February 3rd. So we don't want to change the focus away from the conviction or the jury determination of whether Michael Dunn deserves a conviction. So when you get into the numbers and exactly what was paid, we want to make sure that we're protecting all of Michael Dunn's rights, which is strange to say, but certainly we want a fair criminal trial. And when you get into the details of stuff like that, it can be a distraction.
And this was a settlement for the Davis family, but also for the two boys who were with Jordan as well. And this all came down December 3rd?
December 3rd was the date that we made, that our offer was accepted. We made it, I think, November 14th. And they have a certain number of days to accept, and they accepted it December 3rd, which frankly surprised us. We were embattled, ready for, a multiple year litigation. And we were happy that this resolves, it gets closure. The family wants to donate most of the money to a foundation started on Jordan's behalf, and move along with this thing after the criminal trial's over.
Does this offer much closure for the Davis family?
No, it's incremental steps. The civil suit was never the focus of all this. Certainly there was some funeral expenses and some expenses with travel and things that we needed to get the family reimbursed for. But the civil lawyer's role, people focus on the money. It's really not the money as it is the principle here, and making sure that the wrongful death that was committed here was recognized, and it was. And there's some other issues we can discuss post-criminal trial that we feel set some precedent here related to gun violence cases.
And the family does want to spend a lot of their time really talking about gun control laws. Is that how they want to spend the money? Certainly.
There's two foundations that have been established, and the majority of the money is going to go to that. In fact, Lucy's going to be giving out several scholarships this spring to kids in Jordan's name, which is just fantastic. And in fact, anybody that wants to apply for one of those scholarships certainly can go to walkwithjordan.com and learn about that. But certainly the travel that we've been to DC twice. There's been travel all over the country trying to advocate, and that does come with some degree of cost and expense, and it's also going to be a source of the funds.
Is this for children or for students just in our area, or all over the nation?
All over the nation. All over the nation. Now, Lucy lives in Atlanta, but I think the majority of her focus is Jacksonville. I think that's where they're largely looking at kids coming out of high school, because they'd have been Jordan's peers.
Right. Why settle before the criminal trial?
We make an offer. We don't control when the acceptance is settled, but you certainly want closure. And for a criminal defendant to, in some ways, admit responsibility certainly is significant, and we want that closure as soon as possible. There is a 2-year statute of limitations. We're well over a year from the time that this occurred. So we're not talking about much of a window that we had to file these lawsuits.
And I can only imagine, as time continues to tick on for the family, how this continues to affect them, how this continues to lag and drag on, because now we do have the criminal trial to look forward to for them.
It's been miserable. And my role as an attorney is often, you see it as the advocate or the spokesman, but what you don't see is what's behind the scenes in dealing with people that have become really close friends of mine, and the tragedy here ripples down to my own 2-year-old, and looking at him every day. And we got him a new pair of Air Jordans yesterday, and it was the first person I thought of was Jordan. And it's tough, and the hardest time of their life is going to be sitting there in the Duval County courthouse for a month. And we just need continued thoughts and prayers and to get them through this.
They're going to hear some hard stuff in court. What do you think will be the hardest?
You know, the criminal defense job, kind of what you saw in Trayvon Martin. Now, we're talking about two separate, entirely different situations. But anytime you see the victimization of the victim, that's going to be tough. And hearing, you know, some of the stuff that you've heard already about the boys leaving the scene when they didn't, or Jordan, you know, being antagonistic and depicting Jordan as something other than what he was, you know, a well-raised young teen. That's going to be tough, and certainly we're going to try to keep them out of the room, but when it gets into the medical examiner's testimony and report, that's something that no parent should ever have to see.
I'm going to go back to something here. Do you think this settlement could possibly taint a possible jury?
No. The settlement is completely, you know, the civil and criminal systems are distinct for a reason. Obviously, the family is not speaking at this time for a reason. And the settlement occurred a month ago, and the intent was not to publicize it. But there's been some misconceptions about the settlement. There's been some pretty nasty comments about it.
Like what?
You know, anytime you deal with a civil suit, people hate lawyers. I get it. I'd like to think I'm a little different than that, but you know, it is what it is. And you know, when you start talking money and people say, you know, Jordan's life was of some value. Well, Jordan's life, just like your life, just like my life, just like the children of other parents, is invaluable. You can't put a dollar amount on it. So whether the settlement was $10 or $10 million, that's not the point. You know, the amount of money and where it's going isn't the point. And if you're focused on that, if you're focused on the negativity, you're missing the tragedy here, and that's what we want people to focus on, is the devastating loss.
And that, once again, the message that the Davis family would want to come out of all of this, put it in a nutshell for me, would be
justice. You know, justice is spelled one way; it's defined a million different ways. To this family, the civil settlement is the most insignificant part of this justice. The criminal's big, the advocacy's big. You know, we've changed policy at the Duval County prison system on how inmates are served. There's been, you know, hearings before the U.S. Senate on this issue. You know, they're making huge strides, and there's been laws and some policy change because of Jordan, and we're not even getting started yet.
And is the criminal court case still on target to start in February?
Certainly, February 3rd.
And for those who, once again, parents who may be watching and they would like to apply for the scholarship, how can they do that?
It's walkwithjordan.com, and I think walkwithjordan.org.
Okay. Anything else you would like to say or add?
No, I think that's it. You know, there's no celebration here. You know, this is not something that we even wanted the attention about. You know, it's a insignificant part of the justice process for Jordan Davis. You know, but we all have rights under the wrongful death statute and certainly have rights under defamation. And we feel that Mr. Dunn accepting some degree of responsibility is a step in the right direction.
And this all came out because the media requested this information, not because you put it out there.
Correct. The media, I got a call right at 11 o'clock Friday night, even up, not from your station, but from another station after midnight. And, you know, we had a weekend of trying to figure out how we were going to address this. And here we are.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.